Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video I'm going to show you how to draft this Princess Dart Bustier that has a plunge mesh and straps. Okay, let's get into it. So I'm starting with my pattern paper, and the first line is my bust point, the second line is my nipple point, the third line is my under bust point, and my blouse length or waist length, waist point, whatever you want to call it. So from the middle, the next thing I went ahead to do was to mark my shoulder -1 inch. Okay, your shoulder -1 inch, you mark it there. Now I'm making this style for one of my customers. Okay, so I just connected my ruler to have a straight shoulder point. Okay, now I step down my bust point by ½ inch, so it will help my side seam and how it glides into my bust. Okay, so I stepped it down by ½ inch, and I drew a straight line, and I connected everything together. And of course I erased my initial bust point because I do not need that anymore. Okay, so after erasing it, guys, this is what we have here. I just went ahead to tag it bust point. Now from the middle, the next thing I went ahead to do is I marked 4 inches at my waist point, my under bust point, and my nipple point. Okay, so after doing this, the next thing I went ahead to do was to connect my markings with a straight line. So I connected my lines together, and the next thing I went ahead to do is from my shoulder point I marked 4 inches, and from that point I connected my shoulder point to my dart line, so I'll have my princess dart. Okay, so after connecting my shoulder point to my dart line, the next thing I went ahead to do, now I want to insert my bustier into this princess dart line. So on both sides, on my under bust point and my waistline, I marked 1 inch on both sides. I marked 1 inch on both sides, and I connected my waist point to my under bust point with a straight line, and I connected my under bust point to my nipple point with a triangular line. You guys know the drill, right? I connected with a triangular line. So after connecting with a triangular line, the next thing I went ahead to do here is from my shoulder point I marked 1 inch downwards. Okay, because I want to insert the bustier as well at the princess dart line. Okay, so I went downwards by 1 inch, and I connected it to my nipple point. Okay, so this is what we have here, sitting pretty. Now the next thing I went ahead to do is to mark my bust measurement. My bust measurement is divided by 4. I marked it, the distance between those 2 points, which is 1 inch. I also added it back to my dart point so I don't have shortage. Okay, the next thing I also went ahead to do is the distance between those two places, because we're going to cut it out, we need to add it back to the dart point. I also added it back. Okay, now after doing this, I went to my under bust point and took my under bust measurement divided by 4. I also took the distance between those 2 points and added it back to my under bust measurement. And after doing that, the next thing I went ahead to do for my waist point as well, I did same thing. I marked my waist point, my waist measurement divided by 4. I also went back to add the 2 inches distance between those 2 points back. After doing this, the next thing I went ahead to do is to connect my markings with a straight and slanted line. Okay, now the next thing I went ahead to do is, you guys know that this style has a plunge in the middle. So at my waist point I marked ½ inch, and at the top I marked 1.5 inch. Okay, so I'm trying to create the plunge here that we are going to sew with the illusion, with the mesh. Okay, to create this see-through illusion. And I also went down by ½ inch. Okay, so we have this high-low effect on the mesh plunge. Okay, so I just curved it in, and I connected the top to the bottom with a slanted line. Okay, so this is why we took ½ inch at the bottom and 1.5 inch at the top, because we want it to have this slanted look, not just a straight look. So after doing this, I connected my markings together, and this is what we have here, guys. Very simple, very easy, very straightforward. Okay, Now the next thing I went ahead to do here is from that point, from the initial princess dart line, I went upwards by 1/2 inch, and I just connected that my illusion point mark to that point. See, if what I'm explaining you don't understand, just look at what I'm doing. Yeah, so I went up by 1 inch at my shoulder line, and I just connected it to my plunge line, so we have a slanted look over there. Then from that princess dart bustier line, I went out by 1 inch. Okay, I went out by 1 inch because you guys know that by the time you join your princess dart is going to short, so I added 1 extra inch to that line, and I connected it to my bust line. Okay, so this is what we have here, guys. I connected to my bust line. I also went ahead to add 1 inch sewing allowance. I went ahead to add 1 inch sewing allowance or seam allowance, anyone you want. Yeah, anyone you choose to call it. I went ahead to add 1 inch seam allowance on all sides. That's my bust point, my under bust point, and my waist. Now the next thing is, you guys know that this dress has a strap, and we don't just want to guess, so I just went ahead to draw a straight line, and I made the width of the line 1 inch. Okay, so that we can cut it very well on the fabric, and I just drew a straight line. Now the reason for this is because you want it to be accurate, right? So which is what I did there. You want it to be accurate so that by the time you join into the back point, you're having an exact strap length for your bustier. Okay, so this is what we have going on here, guys. This is what the front part looks like. I've gone ahead to tag it illusion, strap, number 1, number 2, center front, and side front. Okay, I tagged this one center front and the other one side front. This is what the front part looks like. You can see it's looking beautiful. I went ahead to cut it out. This is what we have going on here. Okay, very simple, very straightforward. Let me show you another angle. You can see. Okay, you can see how beautiful it looks. Now for the back part. So for the back part, that's my bust point, my under bust point, and my waistline or my blouse length, whatever you want it to be. Yeah, so because for the front we stepped down the bust point, we're also going to do same thing for the back. So I stepped down the bust point for the back by 1/2 inch. Okay, so I stepped it down by 1/2 inch, and I drew a straight line. Now you want to verify that the measurement for the front and that of the back is the same. Okay, so I just went ahead to verify, and it is the same. You guys, in mathematics, in sewing, my dear. Okay, so I went ahead to erase the initial dart point, so I know I don't get confused, and I went ahead to tag it bust point. I said dart point, bust point, please. So now for my zip allowance, I marked 1 inch for my zip allowance, and I just connected my markings together. Okay, now at that, and of course I went ahead to tag that part zip allowance, so I don't forget. You guys know with sewing sometimes you will just forget. Now from the middle at my bust point, okay, I went ahead to mark 4 inches. I also did same thing at my under bust point and my waistline. Okay, I did same thing at my under bust point and my waistline. Guys, if my voice is crooked, just know that this is after 2, like 2:30, and I'm doing voiceover for you guys. Okay, so I connected my markings with a straight line. Okay, so after connecting my markings with a straight line, from the top I took 1/2 inch on both sides of my dart line. I took 1/2 inch on both sides of my dart line. I went to the hem and I took 1 cm on both sides. If you feel 1 cm is too much for you to take on both sides, you can as well take 1 mm. Okay, yeah, but for this particular tutorial I'm working with 1 cm. Then I went ahead to connect from the top to the bottom. Okay, now this shaping is to get the excess on the back out so that the back can be well relaxed. Now from my bust point, I went ahead to mark circumference of my bust divided by 4. I also took the distance between those 2 lines at the dart point, and I added it back to my measurement. I also did same thing for my under bust point. I added my under bust point measurement and my waist measurement as well at the waist point. I also took the distance between those 2 points and added it back to my pattern. Okay, so when I cut it out, the pattern is still balanced. Okay, now after doing this, I just connected my markings with a straight and slanted line. You get the drill. So this is what we have here going on for the back, and also added 1 inch sewing allowance or seam allowance for the back. Anyone you want to call it, call it. Don't come to my comment section and fight. Okay, thank you. Yeah, now you guys know that the strap point for the front was 6 inches. So at the 6 inches point, I marked it, and I also marked 1 inch. I marked the width to be 1 inch. Just same thing we did for the front part, I did same thing for the back part. So we have our strap point for the back, which is what I did here. Okay, what I did in the front, I also did at the back. So this is what we have going on for the back. This is what it looks like. You can see where the strap is, the zip allowance, and the dart. Okay, so after cutting it, this is what we have here, guys. You can see the cutting the back and the front is very straightforward. I really enjoyed drafting this particular pattern, and the sewing tutorial is going to be up, so make sure you look out for it. Now for the strap, to get the exact measurement going for the strap from front to back, I went ahead to merge the strap together. I just used gum and used paper, okay, to merge both straps together, and we have a whole working piece for the strap. And guys, this is the simplest way, the fastest way, and the easiest way to draft this particular pattern. Like I said, I'm making this for my customers, so you guys will stay tuned to see how it turns out finally. Thank you so much for watching. Please make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. My channel is struggling, so make sure you like and subscribe and come back for more.